Just when you think you can't do anything new with a mock toe, you get the Thursday Diplomat, it's unlike any other mock toe that I've ever owned. And I've owned many mock toe boots, but this here is the Thursday Diplomat. This is actually Thursday Boot Company's oldest boot. It's tied for oldest with the Captain boot and the President boot. All three of those launched at the same time on the Kickstarter in 2014, but I guess I'm not a very good reviewer or Thursday boot fan or whatever because I've only reviewed the Captain. So I thought it was time to check out the mock toe. So let's take a look at the aesthetic here of the Diplomat boot and see what's so unusual about it. And then we'll talk about this burnt copper leather here, the sole and the construction and the fit and the price. Let's go for it. Aesthetic, let's go. All right, so without further ado, the big thing that stands out so much about the Diplomat boot aesthetically is the fact that it's a mock toe that isn't wide and bulky. The mock toe or moccasin style boot is a staple of absolutely any boot company. It's modeled after the centuries old style of footwear worn and designed by Native Americans. And I've of course looked at a lot of them on my channel, including the Dana Bull Run, Thoroughgood Heritage, and my very first pair of proper Goodyear welted boots, my Red Wing 8890s. What all those boots have in common is not just the mock toe style, but a wide rectangular kind of toe box. In fact, literally as I was writing this script at home last night, I got a comment on my top video that compares the Red Wing and the Dana mock toes. Clown shoes. Clown shoes, people say these boots are like because they're so wide and blocky. The Diplomat is a different creature. It's the first sleek, or at least not chunky mock toe that I think I've ever seen. It's not only more tapered at the toe, but it's also lower in profile as well. Like the toe box is lower. And if you compare, like you can see here, the toe box with my old Red Wing 8890s, you can see, yeah, definitely there's a significant difference in height as well as width, which is important. Like I've seen some guys saying in reviews of this boot that they like the idea of mock toes, but felt like they couldn't dress them up. Not with a suit, but for a nice dinner. And then they bought the Diplomat because this is a mock toe that's much easier to dress up than most other mock toes. It might actually be the most versatile mock toe there is, if nothing else. Everything else though, aesthetically, like the height and the white wedge sole and so on, is similar to Red Wing and Dana and so on. But that's at first glance. Let's get a little deeper and see what else is unusual about these mock toes. So we're moving on to the leather here, and this burnt copper, it isn't one of Thursday's, it's not I guess what you call one of their standard leathers. This is part of their rugged and resilient category. And what that means is that the leather is designed to be really hardy and durable. In most, if not all cases, but definitely most cases, the rugged and resilient line is oil tanned, which is unusual for a Thursday boot. What that means is that it's infused with lots and lots of oils during the production process, and that makes it unusually water resistant and long lasting. But while it's definitely not unheard of, it's quite unusual among boots. It makes the leather really tough. All right, let's talk about the sole. By the way, yeah, it is quite obvious that I've been wearing these boots quite a lot. I don't get why there are some guys out there that'll just take a boot out of the box and just start reviewing it. You need to actually wear them in. So I have been wearing these in, which makes this a good review, but that said, sorry that it's very dirty. I probably should have cleaned them before I did this, but you know, whatever, they're boots, they're supposed to get beat up. The sole, let's talk about it. This outsole is the classic Vibram or Vibram Christie sole. It's a very famous outsole. It's like the industry standard for mock toes. It's a wedge sole. So what that means is, you see how it's flat here instead of having a heel? That makes it a wedge sole. And traditionally that was so it was harder to trip on stuff, like catch stuff on your heel when you're working in your boots. After the rubber outsole, you've got a full grain leather midsole, which is very rare, if not unique, for boots at this price point. Now, the leather helps the shoe to mold to the shape of your foot. And then after that, there's a layer of cork filling, and there's a steel shank sitting in it to help with stability and arch support. And then there's a layer of antimicrobial pour-on, which is unusual for boots. Thursday is known for having EVA foam in their boots. These have pour-on, which has similar shock absorbing properties. So that's a cool aspect of the boots that makes them a little bit more like a sneaker with the comfort, I mean. That's a big deal. So that's what that pour-on there signifies. So when it comes to fit and sizing, size down to your nearest half size. So by that I mean I'm never quite sure what to say about Thursday's lasts because My Brannick device size, like my Brannick size, the thing that measures your foot size in the shoe store, I'm like actually 11.6 or 7 on that. And I'm 11.5 in these boots. 11.5 I usually consider my true size, but you know, I'm actually like a tiny bit more than that. So size down to your nearest half size is what I would do with this. If you are at 11.4 or 5 on a Brannick device, go down to an 11. But for me, these fit really well. Width-wise, the cool thing about Thursday is that their widths fit both D and E-shaped feet. They have like some of their boots have wider widths as well. But if you're an E width or a D width, you should be fine with the standard width at Thursday, which is pretty cool. So even though there's it looks like there's less room in the toe than other competing mock toes, it actually is wider in the toe than a lot of competing mock toes. I don't know how they pull that off, but that's the way it works for the sizing. And while we're talking about fit and comfort, the arch support is really good with these shoes. I was really surprised by that actually. Thursday in general, they tend to have good arch support, but what's going on with these boots is that on the inside, and I need to thank Rose Anvil for this, that's like another YouTube channel, he measured and found out that on the inside of the boots, the arch and the heel are 15% higher than in competing, well, than in Red Wing and Thorogood as well, I think, than like other mock toes out there. But these right from the get-go, when I got in, the arch support was really amazing. Yeah, definitely if arch support's important to you, I would say these are the best mock toes for that. Like I'm pretty comfortable saying that. It was really impressive when I got in there. The Diplomat also has extraordinarily high levels of shock absorption from like the Poron that I mentioned, and also like the wedge sole as well combined. Plus it's fully lined, which is pretty nice and soft on your feet, fully like lined with leather. Not everyone loves leather lining, I should say, because it doesn't breathe quite as well as when it's like one layer of leather. But I quite like it. It's nice and soft. It's a personal choice, but I like leather lined shoes. The last thing I wanted to mention with the comfort is that the leather on Thursday is 1.8 millimeters thick, which is not as thick. It's a lot thicker than like dress shoes. It's a bit thinner than like, you know, a logger boot, like some like really outdoorsy, like crazy thick leather boots, which is, you know, impractical, not that useful for the average person, right? What Thursday does is they have 1.8-ish millimeter thick leather. And that means that while it's still very durable, like that's not a big enough difference in width to like really seriously affect durability at all, but it means there's less leather that needs to conform around the shape of your foot and so on. So what that means is there's no break-in. At least I've never had a break-in with Thursday boots. So that's pretty cool as well. So I wouldn't call this thin leather by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not as thick as some like, you know, shoes that you wear for fighting fires and that kind of stuff. And so what that means again is that, yeah, it's more comfortable while still being very durable. So it's a nice balance they've struck. Now, as far as the price goes, a pair of these boots is $199. It's kind of hard to talk about Thursday's prices without sounding like you're exaggerating, because the price really is very crazy here for 199 bucks. So I put at the top of my list of the best boots for under 200 bucks, and they can go toe to toe with boots $100 more expensive, at least $100 more expensive. So the value is very good, and that's partly because they're a direct to consumer company. So like they're an online company. They don't have to pay for brick and mortar stores and everything. Yeah, I don't really know how they come up with a profit at 199 bucks, but that's the price of the boots. It's very good value. So let's wrap it up with some pros and cons. Pros, the main thing, I mean, there are two like especially unusual things about this boot. And the first is the price, and the second is the more modern, streamlined take on the mock toes. So like those two things put these boots, like it makes them really stand out in the world of mock toes. The other upsides that I personally liked about these boots was the surprisingly solid arch support. Like it's built differently around the midfoot than competing models, and I think like other models from Thursday, because it has a wedge sole. I haven't tried any other Thursday boots with a wedge sole, but whatever's going on here, there's more arch support built into this than most of the like boots in general, and definitely other mock toes that I've tried out. The shock absorption is very good as well. There was no break-in. I like the leather lining. This is all comfort stuff, I guess, which I suppose is subjective. This is stuff that I like. That's what a review is, I guess. The leather itself as well is very low stress when it comes to taking care of it. It's like a good leather for guys who don't want to think too much about taking care of their leather. So that's a big upside too. There are some potential downsides with these boots. They don't have a gusseted tongue. I know it's kind of like a very little thing, but some guys prefer gusseted tongues because they're a little bit more water resistant. I don't like gusseted tongues very much myself because it's a lot more leather to break in around this area. It's more likely to give me blisters and that kind of stuff. But some people prefer gusseted tongue. They are leather lined, which some people do not like. I like it myself. If you don't, that's totally fine. The reasons why some people prefer unlined boots is that unlined leather breathes a little bit better because it's like one piece of leather rather than two. And also because with unlined boots, like if it's just like the rough outside, like the flesh side of the leather down here by the heel, as you wear into that, as the heel wears into that, that rough outy kind of suede side of the leather is a better gripping the heel, so it can like help to reduce heel slippage. I didn't have any heel slippage with these boots, but yeah, those are 2 reasons why some people prefer unlined boots, right? Breathes a little bit better and it can grip the heel a little bit more effectively if it's unlined. But again, I didn't have any heel slippage in these anyway. It's also true that these boots do not have the very classic traditional mock toe look. Like I said, that it's a more sleeker, not very sleek, but it's more sleek than the average mock toe out there. Which I don't know, if you want like a more traditional kind of boot, then this is more modern than that, you know. That's my review of the Thursday Boot Company Diplomat mock toes. Yeah, it's their oldest boot, and I just got around to trying it. I like them quite a lot though. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If this shape of a mock toe works for you or not, and also make sure you subscribe as well, because I got a lot more boot reviews and comparisons, and also stuff on jackets and, you know, bags, all other kinds of heritage fashion stuff coming up.